What if I told you that in 1967, a renowned astronomer captured photographs that suggested our entire planet had been displaced from its correct position in the solar system? What if those same photographs revealed something so disturbing about our reality that the scientific community chose to bury the evidence rather than face the implications? This is the story of Dr. Heinrich Voss, a German-American astronomer whose discoveries would challenge everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. His name has been scrubbed from most academic records, his research classified, and his fate, well, that's where things get truly unsettling. Dr. Heinrich Voss was not your typical astronomer. Born in East Berlin in 1923, he survived the bombing of his city during World War II by hiding in the basement of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Astronomy. It was there, surrounded by damaged telescopes and scattered star charts. That young Heinrich first became obsessed with what he called positional astronomy, the precise measurement of celestial bodies' locations. After the war, Voss immigrated to the United States and quickly established himself as one of the most meticulous astronomers of his generation. He worked at the Mount Wilson Observatory in California, where he spent countless nights photographing the same patches of sky, measuring the exact positions of stars with an accuracy that bordered on the supernatural. But Heinrich wasn't just mapping the stars, he was mapping Earth's position relative to them. And what he discovered would haunt him for the rest of his short life. In March of 1967, while conducting routine observations of the constellation Orion, Voss noticed something that made his blood run cold. The star Betelgeuse, which had been precisely catalogued for centuries, appeared to be 3.7 arcseconds off from where it should have been. To most astronomers, this would have been dismissed as instrument error or atmospheric distortion, but Heinrich knew his equipment better than anyone alive. He spent the next 6 months taking thousands of photographs, cross-referencing them with historical star charts dating back to 1700. What he found defied all logic. Not only was Betelgeuse out of place, but every single star in the night sky had shifted by the exact same amount, in the exact same direction. The implications were terrifying. If every star appeared to have moved by the same distance and angle, it could only mean one thing: Earth itself had been displaced from its original position. But how far? And more importantly, by what? Voss's calculations suggested that our planet had been moved approximately 23 million miles closer to the Sun. This should have been catastrophic. Our climate should have changed dramatically. The length of our year should have shifted. Yet somehow, life on Earth continued, exactly as before, as if reality itself had adjusted to compensate for our new position. Heinrich documented everything. His laboratory became a shrine to obsession. Walls covered with star charts marked in red ink, showing the before and after positions of every celestial object visible from Earth. He filled notebook after notebook with calculations, trying to determine exactly when this cosmic displacement had occurred. His breakthrough came in September of 1960. By comparing his photographs with archived images from the Palomar Observatory, Voss determined that the displacement had happened gradually over a period of 18 months, beginning in January of 1966. But here's where the story becomes truly unsettling. Heinrich realized he could pinpoint the exact moment the displacement began. It coincided perfectly with the first successful soft landing on the Moon by the Soviet Lunar 9 probe. Voss became convinced that humanity's first direct contact with another celestial body had somehow triggered a cosmic adjustment, as if the universe itself was rebalancing in response to our intrusion into space. He theorized that we lived in what he called a compensatory reality, a universe that actively corrected itself to maintain the illusion of normalcy, even as fundamental changes occurred beneath the surface. Heinrich's colleagues initially dismissed his claims. Dr. Margaret Chen, who worked alongside him at Mount Wilson, later recalled, "Heinrich was brilliant, but he'd become increasingly paranoid. He insisted that government agents were watching him, that his phone was tapped. We thought it was the stress of overwork, but..." Then Heinrich made his most disturbing discovery yet. While reviewing photographic plates from the night of October 13th, 1967. Voss noticed something that shouldn't have been possible. In the background of one of his starfield photographs, barely visible even under magnification, was what appeared to be Earth itself. Not a reflection, not a lens flare, but an actual image of our planet, hanging in space exactly where it should have been, if his displacement theory was correct. He was looking at Earth's original position 23 million miles away, like a ghostly afterimage burned into the cosmos itself. Heinrich became convinced that what we experience as reality is merely an echo, a phantom existence projected across space while our actual planet drifts in an orbit that should have killed us all. Every sunrise, every season, every day and night cycle was nothing more than a cosmic memory playing on repeat. On November 1, 1967, Dr. Heinrich Voss requested an emergency meeting with the National Science Foundation. He arrived at their offices in Washington, D.C., carrying a locked briefcase containing what he claimed was definitive proof of Earth's displacement. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. Heinrich never made it inside the building. According to the official report, Dr. Voss suffered a fatal heart attack on the steps of the NSF headquarters. He was 44 years old, with no history of cardiac problems. The briefcase was never recovered. Within weeks, all of Heinrich's research materials disappeared from Mount Wilson Observatory. His laboratory was cleaned out overnight, his photographs and notebooks vanishing without explanation. Dr. Chen was reassigned to a different project and signed a non-disclosure agreement that she honored until her death in 2003. But Heinrich's story doesn't end with his mysterious death. In 1971, an amateur astronomer in Arizona named Robert Kelly began noticing the same stellar displacement that had obsessed Heinrich Voss. Kelly had never heard of Voss's work. It had been completely suppressed, but his independent measurements yielded identical results. Kelly disappeared during a camping trip in the Sonoran Desert. His body was never found. Similar cases emerged throughout the 1970s and 80s. Astronomers around the world, working independently, began detecting what they called systematic stellar drift. Most were convinced to abandon their research through official channels. Those who persisted faced professional ruin, equipment failures, or worse. The last documented case was in 1998, when a team of graduate students at MIT published a paper suggesting that Earth's position relative to nearby stars had shifted significantly since the 1960s. The paper was retracted within hours, and all 4 students transferred to different universities by the end of the semester. Today, with our advanced satellite technology and space-based telescopes, you might think such a massive displacement would be impossible to hide. But consider this: every GPS satellite, every space probe, every piece of equipment we use to measure our position in space was built and calibrated after night. If our entire planetary system shifted together, maintaining its internal relationships while moving as a unit, how would we ever detect the displacement? We would be like passengers on a ship, believing we're stationary while the entire ocean moves beneath us. Dr. Margaret Chen, in her final interview before her death, made a statement that still chills astronomers today. Heinrich once told me that the most terrifying thing about his discovery wasn't that Earth had been moved. It was that something had been powerful enough to move it while keeping us all alive. Something that didn't want us to notice. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Heinrich Voss's story isn't what he discovered about our planet's position. It's what happened to the photographs he claimed showed Earth in its original location. In 2015, a demolition crew working on the old Mount Wilson administration building discovered a hidden safe behind a false wall. Inside were dozens of photographic plates, each marked with Heinrich's distinctive red ink notations. The plates showed starfields from October 1967, and in the background of several images, barely visible even under digital enhancement, was a small blue dot. The coordinates matched exactly with Heinrich's calculations for Earth's original position. The photographs were immediately classified by the Department of Defense and have never been publicly released. But leaked reports suggest that the blue dot in those images shows signs of catastrophic atmospheric loss. A planet in the final stages of ecological collapse. If Heinrich Voss was right, we're not just living on a displaced Earth, we're living as echoes of a dead world, maintained by forces beyond our comprehension for reasons we can't begin to understand. The next time you look up at the stars, remember Heinrich's final words, recorded in a journal entry dated just days before his death. The sky is a lie, but it's the only lie keeping us alive. God help us if it ever stops lying. Some stories are buried for a reason. Some discoveries are too dangerous to share. But sometimes, the truth finds a way to surface. Carried by the obsession of those brave enough to look where they shouldn't, the question isn't whether Heinrich Voss was right about Earth's displacement. The question is, if he was right, what's powerful enough to move an entire planet? And what does it want from us? That's a mystery that may be better left unsolved. After all, we're still here, still breathing, still believing in our sunrise and our seasons. Sometimes, ignorance isn't just bliss. Sometimes, it's survival. But late at night, when you're alone under the stars, you might find yourself wondering, are you looking up at the real sky, or just the memory of one? And if you're living in an echo of reality, what happened to the original? Heinrich Voss died trying to find out. Maybe that's exactly why he had to die.